Greetings. I wanted to take a little time today and talk to you about magical water. I think last week, or I hope it was last week, we talked a little bit about magical powders and how they can be very useful tools for your magical cupboard, supplies to keep on hand. Well, I was doing some garden-related chores today, and I was out collecting some magical water from my garden, and I thought, I haven't talked to you about, I don't think, about magical water and the different kinds of water that you might want to collect. And this is a really good time of the year to collect water for a lot of people, because this is the time of the year when there's a lot of changes being made in the weather. Like some people might still have snow, and some people might be getting a lot of rain, and etc. So we want to keep in mind that water is a very important tool if you are a witch. I talked a little bit about water. Water, of course, being one of the major elements that we deal with all the time, that we represent on our altar. I have a few notes here in front of me that I wanted to make sure that I hit the points that I really wanted to hit with you, because I want to try to keep the video as short as possible. But water, of all of the elements, is one of maybe the most important for sustaining life. It's just because it sustains. It's important to have. We must have it. Humans must have it. Animals must have it. Plants must have it. Without water, we would die. So it's very nourishing, and we think of it about it healing and cleansing, all of those wonderful things. But while it's really positive and good for us, water can also be a threat. It can be a threat. Think about, a severe storm or a tsunami, or, stormy seas, or rip tides in the ocean. So it's a little of both. Sometimes beneficial and sometimes not so beneficial. It also is very powerful when it reacts with other of the elements. When it reacts with fire, of course, a lot of water reacting with fire, it can put it out, right? Or at least make it very smoky and smoldery, take a lot of the power out of the fire. It, of course, can flood the earth. We see the damage done by flood. So if it combines with earth too much, it's very damaging. Too much mud, very damaging. Here in California, we have people's houses sliding down the hill usually every season, every rainy season, at the end of every rainy season, because of mud. And also, it can combine with air. The element of water can combine with air to corrode metal, or to dissolve some metals. So, there's some good and bad to it. So when you think about the properties of water, it maybe gives you some good clues as what you can do to use it. Okay? The associations of water, the magical associations with water, are things that everybody knows a lot of about. We associate water with the goddess. We associate water with feminine energy. We associate it with the direction of the west. Usually it's represented on our altar in the west, in the direction of the west. It's represented in the season of autumn, the colors of blue and green, and the zodiac signs of Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, which is terrifically interesting to my husband. Being an Aries, he's a fire sign, and he has lived in this house. He did live in this house with 4 women who were represented by Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. So he had a lot of water surrounding his fire. It's also very good for scrying. You can either gaze into water, gazing into a lake, or gazing into a pond, seeing the reflections is good, but also using scrying from steam. If water is heated and the steam that is coming up off of the water, that's a very good meditative exercise to use for scrying, trying to come up with some images maybe in the steam. It's also good as the base for magical teas that we would brew for different reasons, or for potions. And we also use it in spell work. It can also be used in spell work. So it's really handy to have around, and for most of it, it's free. For most of us, it should be free. It should be absolutely free. You should not have to pay for Magickal Water. So I just wanted to talk a few minutes about each kind of the types of water that I'm interested in. There might be others, I'm not sure, but the what I particularly would be looking for in my cupboard, to add to my cupboard. And of course, the very first one here is the one I'm holding here from my garden, and I'll show you again. And this is full. This is a big jar here. And I have kept this out on my porch, I don't know how many years now, and I've been collecting water in it from the storms when we get rain. I have collected both storm water, which is storms, I want to say, with thunder and lightning are very rare here where we live. So that water is very, very precious to me. So I have storm water from that, or just rainwater, which is also precious because, as most of you know, we don't get a lot of rain here in California most of the year. It comes in our winter time only. Usually very, very small amounts. This year and last year we've had a good bit. This that I collected was from this year winter storm. I have this much. And then what I do is I filter it out, and store it in smaller jars that I keep in my cupboard, okay? So this has been, I filter it because I get things from the roof tile, and I get some things in here, but this sits out also, and it collects energies from the full moon. And I also keep a quartz crystal in the bottom of here all the time, so it's always charging. That crystal is being charged, and here I am in this dirty. My lid is dirty from being outside. No, it isn't. I guess it's just the color. But anyway, I collect this all the time. Now, why would I collect something like storm water or rainwater? Well, first of all, let's talk about storm water. Storm water is very good to use in spells and rituals dealing with emotional issues, because think about a storm. You know, the thrashing of the lightning and the flash of the lightning and the grumbling of the thunder. They're very strong. So anything that you want to gain strength from, or confidence, or motivation, or have some kind of force behind. It's really great. Storm water is really great for curses. Now, I'm not advocating you go out and curse anybody, but in case you wanted to curse somebody, you might want to use storm water. Rainwater, on the other hand, is a very good multi-purpose water, and it's good for growth. It's good for rebirth. Oh, I want to say about the growth. It absolutely is good for growth, and I want to say, here in California, we also, we have a drought most of the time. We have very little water. So most of the watering done for our gardens in the summer, throughout the summer, is done with, just our city water, whatever that is. Which is, it's perfectly fine, I guess, for garden. But I'll tell you, in the spring, when it rains, just one rain, oh, how the garden perks up just after having that one little drink of rainwater. So it is so precious. So it is so nourishing. It's so good for growth. It's so good for rebirth. Spells of rebirth. Great for spells where you want to gain power over a long time, like a gradual thing. Where storm water is fast. Knee-jerk reaction, kind of a fast. Where rainwater is just that gentle growing, gentle nourishing kind of a thing that you want to do. Okay, so those are two good waters. Then we have seawater. We also think of seawater because we live, of course, by the sea. Seawater, think about the sea. It's for me, I think, and for most people, going to the sea, going to the ocean is very healing. It's a cleansing and healing. Cleansing more like an eternal cleansing of your soul, cleansing of your heart. If you're sad, it helps heal the heart. It helps heal from stress or from those kind of things. It's very strong protection. Think about it. Think about the castles that were built on the seacoast, right? Or out on a jetty. Is that the word? You could see people coming from all places. I keep thinking about I can't think of the name of the castle. A couple of castles that I visited when we were in Scotland and England, And oh my goodness, just the vantage from the castle looking out onto the sea. Oh dear, what kind of, you could see anybody coming. They could see anybody coming. It was difficult to get, so they had a lot of protection. And it's very good for banishing. So it's very good for banishing. Think about, how this tide comes in and washes away. Think about a sandcastle being built on a hill, on the beach, and you can spend all day building the castle. And when the tide changes and the high tide comes in, it doesn't take long for every trace of that sandcastle to be absolutely gone. Every trace of the people that have been on the beach to be gone, washed out to sea. Okay, so seawater is really good for that kind of a spell. River water, we have river water, and I have to say two things about river water. River water is really good for moving on ritual or have focusing energy kind of things, or breaking through like a rough path, trying to get somewhere. Think about a creek or a river meandering through the land, and just this constant movement of it. It can be very eroding to the soil around it, but also when the river floods, it forms its own path. It forms a new path and just weaves its way around things. We used to live on the banks of a creek, and so we were always concerned about flooding, of course, and that was something that, trying to channel that water if it did rise too high, where it would be channeled to. And river water is really good for using to consecrate your magical tools. If you're going to consecrate your tools, which you should if you have magical tools, I'm talking about things like your athame and your cauldron, whatever that you use, candles, things that you use on your altar. They're usually consecrated by passing them through the elements, through the element of water, through the element of earth, air, etc. And for that purpose, river water is very good. Two more things to say about river water. I'm trying not to forget. One thing, I know a lot of people dispose of old spells in the river. Whatever's left, when they do a spell, they take what's left, the bits left from the spell, and they throw it in the river. Well, I would not advocate that. I am very against that, actually. I'm very against putting anything in the river. Don't put anything in the river. I have told you before, what I do is usually I burn things. And then the ash I give back into the land, to nourish the land. So I'm doing something positive from my spell, even if it was a negative spell. You can just bury things that are not, as long as they're not going to harm the earth. But putting things in the water is not a good idea. But the reason people do it, I will give them this. The reason they do it, it makes sense that they would want that to leave this place. Leave this place. Throwing it in a river that is flowing away from you, leave this place. Hence, it would probably be the same with the ocean. But again, we don't want to throw things into the ocean. We've got enough problems with people doing that. We never want to do that. But if you think about it, it makes sense. If you think about it, just the logistics of it, it does make, it makes sense why people would get that idea. But I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't use it for that. The other thing I wanted to say about the river is, I don't have it in front of me, but I do have a jar of river water that I got. One year we went to the river with friends, to the Colorado River, for a weekend with some friends. And it was a full moon. It was a really incredible full moon that weekend. And I did collect some water there from the river and brought it home. And that water, now river water is, like all water is alive. Ocean water is alive too. But river water, ocean water has a lot of salt in it, whatever. River water is water with a lot of things in it. It's got a lot of, it's hard to get river water without getting a little mud in there, maybe some earth, maybe some kind of plant life. I don't know. And if you just keep that in a jar forever, it might get pretty rank. It might get pretty, let's call it ripe. You might grow some stuff. It might be a science experiment. Now, if you want it, good, because maybe you can use that. Maybe you can use that in your spell. Moving on from one thing to another, just think about what that could mean. Of course, you would never use that in the spell that you're going to drink. I wouldn't drink any of these waters, by the way. I want to say that we're not going to drink them. This is not the kind of water you would be using in a ritual tea or a potion that you're going to actually drink. Okay, not going to do that. But think about that. If you had that water that had ripened, it's a whole new kind of a water than if you would have brought that river water home and filtered out some of that goo, or leave the goo in there. But maybe some people do something like they'll add a little vinegar or add a little vodka to the water just to keep it from becoming a horrible science experiment gone wrong. if you get my meaning, it's just to clean it up a little bit. Not enough to change the property of the water, just enough so that you're able to keep it. Give it a little bit of a shelf life, we want to say. Okay. That's totally up to you, what you want to use. But now, I'm going to tell you how I use these waters in just a minute. But I want to go through. I have a couple more that I want to talk to you about, and one of those is snow water. Snow water, because I want to particularly say this because I have just seen somebody posting today on Facebook that they're getting snow again at their house where they live. Like, I find that so hard to believe. Because it's like the end of April, but I guess that's the way it is. I guess I believe it. We had 99 degrees the other day here. Like, we never get 99 degrees in April. It's very rare. And it was very unexpected and not really welcomed because we're trying to get our little tiny seedlings to establish in the garden. We don't want to fry them before they even have a chance to grow. So we had to take extra precautions to cover those up, let me tell you. But anyway, if you can, I have collected snow water in the past because of course it never snows here at our home, but we live not far from, just an hour and a half or so from the mountain. We can be up on the mountain in an hour or so, and I have a friend who lives up there in one of the towns up in the mountain, and but also we used to go camping. We used to go every winter. We would go up to a cabin, up to a camp in the Angeles Forest, and often see snow. And when I could, I remember to bring a jar of snow home with me, and that's really good. Snow water is really good for spells or rituals that focus on purity. We're ending. Think about when it snows. I do remember being in the snow, and how when especially the early snows, how they just lay down that blanket of. It's like a pure, clean blanket of. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. So it's purity, something to do with purity, or ending something it needs to change. The end of something to begin of another thing. Let's end this. Let's but not in a way like you would think of a curse. But just in a gentle ending. It's as it's time to end this. So anything that is a spell that is going to be a slow working spell. And I want to say, what is a slow working spell? Well, I want to say anything that is going to. Some people use it for for losing weight. I want to say losing weight. You wouldn't want to do a spell. This is a good example. If you want to lose weight, you wouldn't want to do a spell that just said, I just want to lose weight. And I want to lose it fast. Because you're almost asking for trouble there. You're almost asking for, in a way, do you want to be sick? Do you want to be ill? You can lose weight very rapidly if you become ill. We don't want that. You want to be healthy. So you would be looking for a way that maybe a spell that would help you change your lifestyle, give you the courage, give you the willpower, whatever it is, or the knowledge, or whatever it is, to understand what you need to do in order to lose weight, to be the supportive thing, Snow water is very good for something like that. Okay. Getting over something, like ending a marriage that was not pleasant, or a relationship that still lays very heavily on your heart. Snow water is very good to help you get over something like that. Okay? And finally, the last one that I want to talk about is dew water. Water that you collect when you collect the dew. And this is something, it's a very rare day that I can never collect anything like dew water here. I would not be able to really collect it. One way you would collect it would be to take like a linen cloth, a clean linen cloth, and put it over top of a bush, a shrubbery bush or something, out in your yard. And as soon as you get up in the morning, when the dew is, if there's dew, if you're lucky enough to have that kind of humidity where you live, the dew would be laying on, it would be damp from the night. And then that dew is in that. Now, some people say, well, you could wring that out of there. I would not attempt to wring it out. I would allow it to I would collect it and allow it to remain in the cloth. And just treat the cloth like it has been cleansed with that dew. And then use the cloth for whatever, without laundering the cloth. You understand that, just letting it dry naturally in there. Because that's a really good point. There's a lot, people have a lot of ideas about collecting dew and collecting dew water. But most people say when you collect it, you don't attempt to keep it, just allow it to dry. And a really good way, and this is something that I am able to take advantage of from time to time, especially when we camp in certain areas that are grassy. I'm able to do this by going out early morning in grasses that are damp with the dew, and my feet, in bare feet, and allowing my feet to become wet with the dew, not drying those feet off. Let my feet then dry naturally, and that strength that I'm acquiring from the dew into my feet is a very healthy. It's like a healthy tonic. It's a health tonic for the body. Just like being in your bare feet on that grass in the first place is a health tonic for the body. Having dew on those feet is even better. Okay? It's kind of like having the wet sand between your toes when you're on the ocean, along the ocean. Same kind of a healing that you can get for that. Some people believe that dew water is good for beauty. So some, I'm not sure who, but some people apparently have gone out in the month of May particularly and found it in the dewy grass and rolled around naked in the grass with the hope that it would help them become beautiful. Again, I don't know, I can't attest to that, I haven't done that, but I imagine it would make you feel pretty, very beautiful. It'd make you feel absolutely wonderful if you can do it. But again, if I did do that, and I'm not recommending you do it, but why not if you can? You have the opportunity, give it a try. But again, don't dry yourself off. Allow yourself to just dry naturally, which might be the most difficult, part of it. But anyway, what is so magical about dew? I wanted to say, because dew is water that has neither rained nor run. It just comes out of the atmosphere, right? The condensation from the atmosphere. So it's really magical. It's rare when you can get it. It's a rare commodity to have. You can't just turn on a sprinkler and get it, or turn on a faucet and get it, or you can't buy it in the store. So it's very rare. So you can see how magical that would be, right? Gives you an idea of what kind of things would have magical properties. Okay, how would I use it? I just want to quickly say, what would I do to use it? You can use it in a lot of different ways. Like we always said, if it were the collected water, we don't want to drink, and we don't want to give to people in potions. We've already said that. It's not good for you. Don't drink it. A lot of people collect rainwater as in, they have filter systems set up on their homes that are homesteaders that are off-grid, and they're collecting rainwater to use and to drink. That's really good, and that's perfectly fine that they can drink that. But again, it's gone through a filtering system, so I wouldn't consider that to really be true rainwater in the magical sense. Rainwater in the magical sense would be water that comes down and you collect it in a bowl or in a jar or some way straight from the rain into the jar. It takes a long time to fill up, a lot of rain to fill up a jar, by the way, this much, and I've filled it up twice this winter because, it's just drops that go in there, It's a narrow opening, so it's not like pouring water out of a hose. It takes a good while. If you've ever tried to fill up a glass with water using just rain, it takes a while to do that. But we've had some really good rain, so this is pretty incredible. And I don't think I had it out at the beginning of the season. I don't think I collected it right at the beginning of the season. I think the season kind of took us by surprise when it began. But anyway, this is pretty impressive for us. But anyway, what would I do with it? What do I do with it? Well, you can do a lot of things with it, but one thing you can do with it is keep it, like I said, using it to consecrate tools and using it in that way. Use it in spells, passing things through water, putting it on the altar and using it for ritual, for different kind of rituals. But also, how about using it as an aspergillum? As you would take, put it in your chalice or your bowl on the altar or whatever, and then use like a sprig of rosemary or a sprig of some other kind of sage or whatever you want to use, and then sprinkling over whatever it is you're doing. Whatever, if you're making a poppet or you're making a witch's purse, or you're doing some kind of candle magic and you want to add some water using the power from whatever water you have, you can do it that way. You could boil it, you could cook it, boil it, or steam it to allow the steam from these waters if you wanted to do scrying. If you wanted to do just to keep like on your quarter in the west. If you were going to do a reading, some kind of a divination, like a reading for runes or for tarot cards or for bones or something, having the water as a part of that reading would be really neat to do too. So you can use it for whatever your imagination tells you to do. Remember, the magic is inside you. You are the one. You do you. Whatever works for you, and whatever comes to you in a great idea. Hey, I wonder if this would work. Try it and see. If you believe it to work, it can work. Okay? But also cleansing. I want to say also cleansing. You could use this water to cleanse. You could put some in a bowl and use it to wash your hand, to wipe your hands ceremoniously. Cleanse your hands. And then that is in your power, your hands, when you go to do your magic too. So anyway, if you can think of some more ideas, post them in the comments below. That'd be fun. That'd be fun if we could read some of those. So anyway, that's all. I just wanted to say that. And let me know if you could think of another kind of a water that you collect. I'm not sure what there would be, but that would be fun if you could come up with another water too. You see. So anyway, get those cupboards filled. You just got to be ready. Just like you never know. You never know what kind of magic that you need to do. So get your cupboard stocked up on things that are around and that are free and available. And the best of luck. I nearly forgot. I wanted to cut this in. Try to edit this in, but I forgot to mention that please, anytime that you are collecting something from nature, such as the water from the ocean, water from streams, whatever, leave an offering. Remember to leave an offering of some kind when you take. When you take, you should also leave something. I don't think we've ever done a video on that, but I probably should. But just for now anyway, trust me when I say you should always do that. It's just a very good practice to be in. We always leave an offering in nature when we take something from nature. This is if you're collecting flowers for ritual or whatever, you're collecting leaves or, stick to make a wand, whatever you want to do, leave an offering. And then what do you mean by an offering? Leave something behind. Leave some, you can leave food, you can leave breadcrumbs, you can leave seeds, you can leave some coins. Some people have just change, like some pennies or nickels or whatever. they put in there, just carry around some change. Shiny things. Let's see. Alcohol. Alcohol is good. You know, a little bit of spirits from a flask is really good. Something like that. Okay? But just some little token offering with your heart, thanking the earth, thanking whoever it is that is given it to you, thanking the sea, thanking the river for what you're taking from them. Okay? And in that case, if it is something like water, you don't throw it in the sea, leave it beside, or this, you know, leave it near, leave it nearby. You know, like if you've gone to the beach and you leave some, you know, breadcrumbs on the beach, the birds will surely get it, but that's okay. It is the point of leaving the offering. Okay? Just like after ritual, you probably would leave an offering into the ground. Most people put an offering, leave an offering for that too. But that's a whole other video. But anyway, I just wanted to cut that in, so there you go. I'm Rebecca. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I wish you blessings.